Well, welcome to Domain to Profit. I'm Drew Walsh, and I'm sitting right now in New York City. New York City. This is what the concrete jungle where dreams are made of, as I believe Alicia Keys once wrote. Well, this is truly where the ground was perfect for development. And it just so happens, as each week we come and we look for domain names that are also perfect for developing. Today we're going to be looking at the land that should be developed and the land that shouldn't be developed. We're going to be looking through all the expired domain names that are available this week. Like they're going to come available this week, available for you to bid on at auction and possibly develop. The Chrysler Building, which owns ChryslerBuilding.com. I found that interesting. But you'll be able to develop your tower, your great structure. I love New York City. I'll probably talk about it quite a bit while I'm here with you on this video. The amazing thing about this is, it was once bare land, trees and parks and forests, and someone decided to be ambitious enough to build and then build more. And then eventually somebody decided to build a skyscraper and then another skyscraper. Could you imagine the guts it takes for somebody to look at a space of land and say, you know what, let's build a freaking skyscraper from here to as high as we can possibly see, and then make it happen. Because we all have these different dreams of things that we want to build, but to look at a plot of land and to picture what you want on it, but then to do it, to have that ambition and drive to overcome all the obstacles that are necessary to build some grand building or some grand enterprise on the domain name that you may very well find today. I love New York. Love New York. Well, thank you for joining me here on From Domain to Profit. Say hi in the chat. I'll see you here in just a moment.
Get started right now. From domain to profit, from a .com to a business idea. Take a domain name, develop an income from domain to profit. We'll show you how. Domain to profit, from domain to profit. Join Drew Walsh and get started right now.
Alrighty. Well, as you can see, I get fired up when I'm in New York City, a Cincinnati kid, growing up and coming to the big city. It's exciting stuff. Well, nice to see you here. Michael, thanks for joining us. As always, Matt here. Hey, there we go. Reporting that we hit 200 people that decided that domain development was important enough to hit that subscribe button, which is very cool. I mean, that's like showing that intent that they want to just move some domain forward towards building their enterprise. Very cool. Thank you all for those subscriptions. And if you're not a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button. Absolutely. And let me see here. We got Lee as well. Thanks for joining us, Lee and Jason. All of you, I just appreciate you all. Here we are. People that, woke up this morning and, it's Monday. We grabbed our coffee or whatnot, and we just said, what can we do to change our lives today? What can we do? And then, what is it, week 39, I believe we're at, week 39, where we said, maybe developing some domain names is good. So, good stuff. I get fired up about New York. I said, Cincinnati kid, and I grew up, on the suburbs of Cincinnati, even, not even in the city. So Cincinnati is notoriously known for having just a great skyline. By skyline, I'm not talking about Skyline Chili. I'm just talking about the actual city line of Cincinnati, because the way the Ohio River kind of forces it to be restricted. When you come over the hills, if you've ever flown into Cincinnati, you actually fly into Kentucky, then you drive over to Cincinnati and you come over these hills, and the road just kind of splits, and you're just hit with the city skyline that is just rather inspiring. I mean, it's for being as small as Cincinnati is, it's breathtaking. But here in New York, I mean, it's you have so many different cities all piled up on top of each other, giant buildings. It's good stuff, and the reason why it's good is because just the ambition. You can't come to New York, and I know a lot of people probably come here and they see these giant structures and the things that others before them have built, and they maybe feel that they aren't capable of doing the same things, or they're intimidated by all that's come before them. But as Steve Jobs once pointed out, and I highly recommend you, I wish I could show this video, but Steve Jobs talks about how every building you see, everything you see out there was made by somebody just like you. Somebody that just kind of woke up, decided to do it, and stuck with it through all the obstacles, learned what they needed to learn to build great things. And that is very much at the heart of who I am, and I hope at the heart of who you are. And if not, the hope of who you're becoming, a creator, somebody that does things, somebody that can come to a big city and say, I want to build too. I want to create. So, well, today what we're going to do, as you probably know, as we do these shows, especially when I'm remote, we dive right in. We go out to right here, we go out to our buddies over at expireddomains.net, where we will look through today's domain names. And especially when I'm traveling, which today I got up at 3:45 in the morning, so I probably have maybe some extra bags under the old eyes. I'm who knows what's going to come out of my mouth today. I'm pretty caffeined up, just trying to make you make the brain work. Excitement is, I've been here for hours as of this point. Okay, so we don't know what's going to come out of my mouth. I'm tired, but what I can tell you is there's not been much prep as far as I don't know what domains we're going to find. So we're going to find them together. So as we look through this list here, we're going to see what domains work, what domains don't work. We do this each week. I'll share with you what domains I think are the best ones on the list. And I'll also share with you while some of the domains that may be high priced aren't the ones you should be buying. Because development is completely different from other reasons that people might purchase a domain name. And that is very much what we specifically look out to do. So as you come into expireddomains.net here, and I just was just grabbing, Michael mentions he's up in upstate New York. Awesome. And then we have Ian that dropped in here as well. Thank you guys for coming. And if you haven't already, hit that like button and or subscribe. I don't say that enough, but I do always appreciate it. So here on Marketplace Domains, and as always, my screen is black, but that is just a setting I have here on Expired Domains. You can get to the exact same things. You don't need to set up a free account to be able to access the filters. Then I go over to Marketplace Domains, and then GD Expired, which stands for GoDaddy. GoDaddy. Just in case you spend too much time around sailors and truck drivers, GD stands for GoDaddy. Oh, man. Crack myself up. I've been waiting for an opportunity to kind of say that kind of thing. I think it sounds hilarious. I crack myself up. I'm possibly the only one, but that's okay. So I am setting up my filters. Hopefully you just saw what I did. I get rid of numbers, get rid of hyphens. I keep it to 1 to 3 dictionary words over the next week, and then I get rid of all the other extensions. We're looking for .coms. .coms are the Manhattan of land when it comes to the internet. Like, it's the most expensive, it's the best, it's well known, it's there. Maybe Rome in Italy. It's the land that you want to be in that is well known just across the land, almost just for existing, right? Okay, so here we go. Actually, this is kind of fun. I saw in Peter's Great Domain Development Opportunity, GDDO, his newsletter, Dingy was mentioned in it. And you'll see here right on top, let me zoom in here. Dingy.com is the the first domain name that's currently listed, and this is ordered by here by price. So you'll see the valuation of dinghy.com is $16,000. The current price is $3,400. I don't know. I wouldn't buy it for that. So here's the thing. How do you spell dinghy? Look at that. Is that how you spell dinghy? I would never in a million years spell dinghy that way. I am a notoriously bad speller, but at the same time, I don't know. Do you really want to count on Google auto-correcting everybody over to your domain name? For $3,500, that domain name is past what I would probably ever consider it. I would probably pass on that domain name at this point. But if you sell small boats, sure, it's an exact match for something you already do. But if you're here looking for a domain name development opportunity, you'll probably want to steer clear of dinghy when it's already over $3,400 or so. But that is one that you could do. I think Peter mentioned you could sell dinghies on the internet, which I don't know if you're paying $3,500 or more for a domain name and you're not intimately in that industry already, you might be the dinghy. That's too much. I wouldn't do it. Is that clear? Hopefully that's clear. But an exact match domain name, if it was for any product, if it was coffeemaker.com, which, yes, I just literally looked over, saw a coffee maker, and that's why it came to my mind. But if it was some product that a lot of people had, then so be it. I love niche domain names, but okay. Moving off of that, hopefully I was a little why not to buy it. The price is too high as currently, and the market's limited. Let me try to give you a little data on this. Ding. See, I can't even spell it, and I've just been looking at it. Ding high. Let's just see how many people are searching for dinghy. Maybe it's 500,000 people, and it's Drew's a knucklehead. Okay, so here we go. 27,000 people searching for the exact keyword dinghy, 48 cents. So based on that, that is almost exactly how GoDaddy came up with their appraisal, I'm guessing. It has good keywords, and people are searching for it. I'd have to look into it more to ever think about going up over 3,500. I'll just come back to my main point. If you're already operating if you do marine type stuff, marine as in marina, marine like as in water. If you're dealing in boats and things, then sure, that's freaking probably big money for you. You go all in on it. If you are a domain developer, though, and you're just looking for something you can develop out, I'd probably avoid it. Okay, so easyclaim.com, we talked about last week. That one is going to be ending tomorrow, I believe. We talked about how you can just kind of do a easy claim. If you can simplify the claim process, then yeah, we are able to improve a lot of lives. Bookdeals.com. I like the idea of book deals as in like where people can go to get their book published, but the idea of competing with Amazon and their original business model, I wouldn't want to mess with that in the world. Okay, supply direct. I will say on book deals, let's see if this is actually, this just comes to mind. Let me make sure it's available. Oh my dear goodness, $2,000 already. Yeah, again, for the same reason I would avoid dinghy. 2,000 already with 3 days left. My thought was, if you can get book deals for a reasonable price, you could, yes, do some Amazon link affiliate structure type stuff. But what you could also do is sell rare books. It's something I've looked into in the past, like looking for first editions or early editions of some of the books that have really made an impact on my life. You kind of, if you really love something, you can read it in the library, read it on a Kindle, but if it really had an impact, you want to have something meaningful that can be on your shelf. So I've looked up like first edition books and different things that I can have that are an outward expression of what that book meant to me internally. So it would be a more expensive book, but you put it up on book deals or something, possibly not. That was the angle I was going to go with until I saw it was 2,000. Let me see here. Here we go. being enlightened here by Jason Shepard, another great domain guy here. He says that they also RVs tow along vehicles as well, calling it a dinghy. I'm not necessarily seeing it here, but that makes sense. I mean, a dinghy, when you go on a sailboat or anything like that, they pull a dinghy. It's a small boat. So if you pull along your car with your RV, that makes sense. And of course, he gives a shout out to the fact that it's a towing tie-in, which, speaking of that, you know who owns boattowing.com, Jason? Yeah, this guy. A weird domain name. It had towing in the name, and I liked it, so I went with it. So we went with it. Okay. Let's keep looking for some domains. If you see a domain name in the list that you're wondering why I passed it up, or if you're wanting me to talk about it, feel free to shout it out in the chat if you're watching live, which you should be watching live. I appreciate you watching on Restream, but live is where it's at if you want to get the inside information. And you never know when one of these domains will expire, like today, and you'll miss out altogether if you try to watch it on Restream. So Denver Lawyer, if you wanted to go with a geo domain, already up over 330. That's probably, I'd have to do a little research into the value of the domain name. But if you're a Denver Lawyer, don't all lawyer advertisements look the same? They do, right? Like some of them try to look weird just to stand out, but you know it's really going to help a Denver Lawyer stand out if they literally own the exact match keyword domain name for denverlawyer.com. Just my opinion. I'm a domain guy, so of course I think that. So let's do a little for geo domain names. I'm not a huge fan of them, but I own them and I do mess with them at times. Denver Lawyer, because it's a lawyer, because it's singular, it's probably going to be best for a single rather than a directory, but you can still do a directory on it. You could buy this one, and you can do what the whole reason I started this show was because my son asked if I would give him a domain name for him to build a business on. And the domain name I brought to him was CincinnatiAccountants.com. And I said, hey, here's what you can do. Put up a simple website. You put some directories, and you can go to Cincinnati Accountants, Cincinnati area accountants, and you get 3 or 4 of them to pay you a few $100s to be listed on the site. He decided not to do it, but it was a geo domain name that I recommended he use for his first project. So the same kind of thing, if you're looking for that kind of first step, a simple way to step in. I mean, look at this. It's only 590 exact keyword searches. Well, let's see here. I mean, there's a lot of them with similar. So I like these domains, especially if you're in the Denver area and you can work it local. So even though the exact match is $5.90, look at this cost per click: $12.20 or 23 cents. So $12. I mean, anytime you get $8 or above, you're really talking about a domain name with a lot of competition. Now, as an entrepreneur, as a developer, as somebody that's looking for an opportunity, when you see and hear a lot of competition, your ears need to perk up, because there's a lot of competition, which is why that price goes up. And a lot of competition means there's a lot of lawyers in the Denver area trying to find an angle to win more business over their competition. So owning this domain name or listing on this domain name will give you an advantage. So as I already talked about, the domain name was, let me see, what was it going for? $333. These down here, here's how I would use this information. This is going to be a pretty helpful rant, I believe. So Denver Lawyer refers to the location and lawyer, but there's many types of lawyers. So what you can do is on Denver Lawyer, you can have a page for personal injury lawyers, car accident lawyers, immigration lawyers, let me see, any other. So these other keywords that you see on that list there, those are your subcategories. So you take one great domain, you put subcategories onto it, and now you charge the Denver lawyers hey, because they're going to specialize most likely in specific cases. Immigration lawyers in Denver, boom. You get 3 to 4, you get 3 or 4 immigration lawyers that want to advertise there for a couple $100 a month. Then you do the same thing for personal injury lawyers. Then you do the same thing for auto accident or car accident lawyers. And you go for the other 3 or 4 main keywords that people are searching for in the Denver area. And when you call up these Denver lawyers, and you finally get to the decision maker, which is probably going to be about the most difficult thing you do. And I believe that lawyers are typically notoriously not good at spending money on marketing. But if you can get to those decision makers, you better darn well believe saying, I'm with denverlawyer.com that's going to get you into in the front door. So what started off as not interested in it, I became a fan of denverlawyer.com. If I was in the Denver area, I'd be a lot more interested in it. And here's the thing, as we already talked about with those subcategories, with the subcategories on denverlawyer.com, you can actually, $100, $200 per subcategory. What you can do is now you know that you can probably outbid anyone else for this domain name, assuming you're going to develop it. If you're not going to develop it, then you're going to pay too much for it. But if you're going to develop it, here's what happens. All you need is 1 or 2 people paying you couple $100 a month. Now you're making a few $1,000s per year, and now you can buy this domain name for $1,000 or $2,000. Where somebody that's just doing it for investment, they're hitting their peak. They're gonna tap out at about $800. So expect it to probably shoot up in price. But there you go. denverlawyer.com went from a no to a yes. As I looked at the data and thought about it. So geos are great for your first entry to an industry. So let me see here. 444. Oh yeah. So Matt is mentioning. Matt's mentioning. So 444. There's a lawyer in Cincinnati. Matt's in Cincinnati that has a song because he's like the lawyers that understand the marketing. They always try to stand out in some way. Exact match domain is as good as a song. I like songs. Songs are fun. So there you go, denverlawyer.com. Drew gives it a score. If you can get that if you're in the Denver area and you are going to develop it up to $2,000, why would I spend so much money on it? Well, hopefully I explained it a little bit already. You can, and here's what let's see, when does that expire? That ends, you have a full week. So I don't know how you can, so maybe go, here's, if you wanted to, before you spend a couple $1,000, if you wanted to find out if it's worth it, which I think a couple $1,000, realistically, you probably have $1,000 phone in your pocket. You probably have a, $1,000+ laptop. You're quick to buy. We're all quick to spend money on stuff, except for when it comes to something that's like, this can change your life. But you have a week here. So here's what you can do. Go to GoDaddy and find the best possible Denver lawyer domain name out there, even on an alternative extension. So Denver lawyer in my area or it doesn't even matter. But what you can do is you can start making some calls. You can start to see and implement, if I do this, will you pay this? So if I build out a domain name specifically or a site specifically to get you more business, would you pay this? You can start to explore it. And then you might find that, whoa, there's a big market for this. I can pay way more than $2,000. And then you could actually make it happen. But you can use that, if I do this, will you do this? It's all of commerce, how it works. So it's what we do when we exchange money, right? Money is really nothing other than the promise of value that we all share. So powermatrix.com, easy analytics. I like easy analytics, but the word analytic is, analytics in itself sound complicated. Let's see what it's going for now. And I'm also looking, $160. So it is going to be going up, 6 days left. I mean, easy analytics. If you're running analytics, go for it. If you're not, I just think there's so many free products out there for analytics anymore. I get nervous about foraying into that. But if you're a data analyst, I love data. Just building a website for it sounds Lyracorn, Lyra. There, that's like this has a little SEO behind it or something. I'm guessing that's going for some good money. If you're looking for a crypto domain, that may be one for you. Learning is fun. I don't know if learning is fun, but learning is important for sure. I love learning. I love working too, so I'm a freak. Okay, by the way, I have my laptop down here. I have a secondary laptop over here, so apologies for looking all over the place. I wish I could look at you and look at my screen, but I can't do that. And I'm sitting. I don't often sit for the show. I don't feel comfortable sitting. Oh, here's another one that, yeah, there we go. I saw this one in Peter's newsletter as well, scubainstructor.com. I got to check out the keywords on this bad boy. 330 already. I mean, scuba instructor. It's fun. Not Twitter. Let's go over to SEMrush. That's where we're trying to go. And we're going to check out, because I have no idea how many people look for, what was it, scuba instructor. So how many people actually search for scuba instructor? Not much. That's kind of what I figured. It's one of those things where I'm actually surprised it's that low. I'm scared to death of scuba. The idea of strapping on a mask, and I'm not scared of much, but scuba makes me, the idea of being down like in a little cave with like your air strapped to your back, I'm good. I'm good. Don't want to skydive either. I'm good. Okay, scuba instructor. If you're a scuba instructor, if you're already living in Key West, Chaz, or if Chaz, one of my coders who wants to live in Key West, if you like live on the beach, want to live on the beach, this is a play to get you there. The domain name's already up for $330, ending in a week, because it's an exact match of a phrase that people have heard a bunch of times. Scuba instructor. I mean, how many times do you hear, like in movies and stuff, where the tan guy on the beach, he's a scuba instructor? Like, evidently, it's a thing. So I don't know. I'm not actually a big fan of it, but if you have a reason for it, then go for it. That goes for so many domains. If you have a reason to get the domain name, it has traffic, or it has exact keyword searches. It has that authority and validation. People say that phrase. People know that phrase. If you say, I am scubainstructor.com, it's going to open doors for you. The only thing is will it get the traffic necessary to actually do anything for you? I don't know. I like it. I'm going to put it like I'm going to put it in the middle of the road. I'm going to put it at like a 4.5 on a scale of 10 of whether I would want to mess with it. If you can get that for $500 or less, in fact, I may even put like a bid in at $500 or less, because it's a fun domain name. It adds some validation. We already own, for example, tourguides.com, in a couple other travel domains. I see it in that arena. The traffic's not there. The searches aren't there. So there you go. So just because it's not the greatest domain for development doesn't mean that you can't put some money on it, depending on what you're going to develop it out to. I would see that more as an investment into my other domains more than an investment into that specific scubainstructor.com. Hope that makes sense. Hopefully I hope that those points make sense for you and help you see why scuba instructor is kind of the middle of the road. That is what I'm out to do. I mean, anywhere on Manhattan, for example, Manhattan, this island in New York, anywhere in Manhattan is going to have value, although certain parts have more value than others, right? That's kind of how that domain name is. It may be on a 4 or 5 on the scale, so it's on the outskirts, but it's still worth possibly owning. So, steelheads for you fishers, Click Mortgages, Sports Test, Tech Motors, paging down. Family restoration. Staggers. Sounds like a bar. Is there a Staggers bar? IT nerds. That's fun. Sounds like a blog. Worth having a blog for us IT nerds, if you are one. Which, with that in mind, I was thinking the other day, like I did a show 4 or 5 weeks ago about no code, and I've looked at it since, and I will end up building something in no code. But here's what it comes down to: learning the code is so freaking important. It's so important, and when you know how to code, you can plug different things in that make coding almost as easy as no code. You know, you can plug in you can drop in something that gives you features, gives you a certain look and feel, and then you just change the code. You change you customize it. One of the things that I have been really thinking about with no code is when you build it, it's on their platform. You can't, like in most cases, I found a couple that will let you export it. But in most cases, you build it, but you can't export it and run it somewhere else. It's only on their platform. So what you've essentially done is you've chose to walk into a prison cell where once you run into an issue where you've outgrown their platform, now you have to redo everything you've done to that point, which, comedyevents.com. That sounds like fun. Let's check this out. Okay. $37. Let's see if anybody's searching for comedy events. So closing down the denverlawyer.com, which I thought was a win. I did not mark those, so you have to, dang it. I like to flag them so that way I remember. Comedy events. See if anybody's searching for this. Right now, probably not, but comedy events near me, there's a little traffic. I mean, a couple hundred. So here's what I love about the comedy or any of these domains that are for small performers. Stand up is these guys scrap, right? These guys, the people that do stand up work their tails off in their craft. And why I'm saying that is because they work their butt off, they also may be willing to work at adding content to your website if you owned comedyevents.com. You can even help them organize their comedy event, because think about what comedy really requires. Comedy probably requires a microphone, a PA system, and an audience, like people to know to show up there. Who doesn't want to show up someplace and laugh? Well, there you go, comedyevents.com. I don't know what kind of how would you make money off it? Maybe you maybe you can be the ticket master of comedy events. You help independent comedy events pop up. You can show them on the site, and then other events can just pay to be listed on your site. But you also can help comedians create their own events where you handle the tickets even. There's some good stuff there with events and independents. I mean, they're already scrapping. These guys are out to do stuff. $37, what it currently is. I pretty much can guarantee that's going to. In fact, I'm going to likely bid at least my 188. Which 188. There you go. If you want to outbid me, it's going to be more than 188. I can't do it right this second, but I'm probably going to bid on this domain name just because it's fun and it helps us. Anybody that creates, I'm on your side, and I want to ideally create something to allow you to create more. So there we go. I'm highlighting comedy events to come back to put a bid on. Like I said, I'll probably put 188 on it. That's one nice thing about this show. Drew puts his money where his opinion is. I think it's worth more than that if you're passionate about comedy, for sure. Which I love comedy. It's actually one of my like someday goals is to put together a stand-up comedy set and go do a comedy set. And next, I'm not going to say it will fail. I'm going to say it will be rough, but how fun is it? The idea that you go and you entertain people with humor. Okay, I'm going to toss this up real quick. He says Jason Shepard adds he works in the comedy space. Problem with this domain name is there's usually one or two of the comedy spots in each town. They already rank well and have, agreed. I mean, in Cincinnati, I know the same thing. We have a couple different comedy spots. Again, a mic in an audience is really what you need. I argued with some people that ran a little garage band that anytime you play music, people will show up and watch. So, like, create ways to go do it publicly, even if it's like at a park or something or out of your van, and people are going to show up and see you. Same with comedy. Like, if you're telling jokes over a microphone and like amplifying your voice with whatever permits and stuff you need, people are going to show up. And it's more about getting their name out there, doing something different. I think there's still some angles on it. That's probably Jason. Like, Jason's probably, he's probably like, you know what? I'm going to nix, I got to talk this domain down because he's probably already bidding on it. I know your ways, Jason. I know your ways. Okay. No, but it's all good. But yeah, it's, I definitely agree. They typically have their, we all have the funny bone comedy places and the comedy clubs that are already established here in New York City. They have famous comedy clubs, and the only thing is the no names need a place to do stuff and practice their craft as well. And you could also do video sets, live sets. Okay, not seeing anything. Domainappraisers.com. Okay, I don't know. There's something there. I'm not going to talk about it because, well, unless somebody wants me to talk about it, I'm not going to talk about domain appraisers. That's too domain centered. But knowing what a price of a domain name is worth is something that's certainly important. There's a service that you could do there. Cannabis taxi. That sounds fun. Survey trust. Space controller. Smart logger. I paid my way through college selling spy software. That was one of my main businesses, was selling spy software. It's how I learned search engine optimization and stuff. So Smart Logger would have been a good domain for that industry. Okay. Stop wishing. Start doing. Stopwishing.com. I think we are coming up on the end of the first couple hundred domain names here. And I want to go into a segment called, I'm just going to make this up off the top of my head, a segment called Don't Buy That. So here's what I'm going to do. As I get to the bottom here. Now that I'm to the bottom, webhostingplans.com. That's not really, I don't know if people, let's see if people still search for that. I don't know if they do. It sounds like a late 90s, early 2000s type of keyword, but wow. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. That used to be like one of the top searches back in the day when websites were, that's what you needed was a web hosting plan. So yeah, no web hosting plans. I didn't like it, but I figured I'd look at it. Okay. So now that we're at the bottom of page 1, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to look at the domain names that people are paying the most for right now. So we're going to be looking at the same list, but we are going to look at the domains that currently have the highest prices at auction. And we're going to quickly kind of, well, as quickly as possible, look through a couple of these and say whether you should buy it or not. And chances are, looking at this order, so here you go, businessperform.com. No, don't buy that. If you're developing a domain name, don't buy that. Why are people bidding over close to $4,500 on it? Well, here's why. There's some backlinks and some domain. There's some search engine optimization juice. That's a completely different area. That's not my area. There may be something you could do with search engine optimization with this domain name, but for $4,500, it's nowhere close to being the domain name you should be buying to develop. So dinghy.com, we've already talked about, little overpriced currently, but certainly if you work in the boats area, then certainly worth looking at. Bookdeals.com, we talked about that as well. It's interesting. We talked about these really quickly or earlier in the show. Book Deals, not a big fan of it at the price. Earl Inn, look at this. See, these numbers here are why that's going for so much. Let me see. Where can I? Search engine optimization, backlinks. In order for a website to rank in the search engines, it has to have links coming into it. Those links often have to matter. They have to have be from relevant websites with something called authority, not the authority we talk about with domain development, but authority as in Google's authority. And if those links are good, then that domain name has an advantage in search engine optimization. That's why you see domain names like Earl Inn or whatever, Ear Inn, whatever the heck that is. These numbers here being higher, you'd have to look into why that is, but that's why that's going for $2,000. It is not a $2,000 domain name on its own, but for the SEO standpoint, that is why people are bidding on that one. Jets Weekly, that's somebody's that's somebody that's probably a Jets fan and they want to do a blog or something on it. You can see there's not many bids on it, but the people that are on it, they're fans. They're passionate about it. Just because it's expensive does not mean it's worth developing. If you are a fan, then sure, you can go for something like that. It's a pretty good domain name for a Jets football blog or something. The only thing is you're going to have to pay a bunch of money for it. Air Gorilla, again, I'm guessing, yep, SEO, so $1,300. So just put this, make sure you always have this in your brain. Just because people say it's worth a lot doesn't mean it is. Just because the domain name is people are paying a lot for it does not mean it's worth a lot. Okay, even these appraisals here that we've already seen, just because the number's high does not mean anything. You got to look at the exact keywords, got to think about the industry. We haven't done it yet, but you got to go out to Google, see who's paying, and seeing if those keywords show up in the searches that people are actually doing in paying ads for, or paying money for those keywords to show in their ads. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, there we go. I say hopefully a lot. The funny thing is, yeah, okay, here we go. Electronic tech devices. 3 words, exact match. No, I don't 100% sure what's going on here. $1,200. No, like 3 keywords. Electronic tech, I don't know what's going on there. Don't buy that domain name. It doesn't. That almost seems like what we talk about often, which is words that sound like they matter being put together and that somehow creating value. In this case, it's the exact same thing. If it's tech devices or electronics devices, those might be okay, but put those 3 words together, electronic, I don't know why that's somebody made a mistake with that is my opinion. I don't really know what's going on with that. I mean, 6 people have bid on it, or there's 6 bids. So basically a couple people put in bids and somebody's overpaying. Organic almonds, maybe not $1,000, but I like it. We'll probably see that on the next page. So that's pretty much the domain names. We went down what not to buy off of those top most expensive domain names that people are currently bidding on. Hopefully that was a little bit of an interesting endeavor. So now I'm going to reset this, and we are going to page 2 of the domain things. And I'm just going to put myself large because I'm in charge. And I just wanted to. I need to dance around, man. This sitting stuff is not for Drew. I have a sit-stand desk at the office, and I use it often. So I'm getting set up on page 2 right now. If you are just joining us, if you're joining us on live, chances are, just so you know, I'm remote. This is not my normal location. I am in New York City. So, well, that's just a TV showing a skyline, but I am actually on the 33rd floor of a building in Midtown Manhattan. I love this place. Come here as often as possible, but I haven't been here in well over a year because of COVID, of course. First time back. Can't wait for Broadway and everything else to open. And why do I love this city? Well, I love this city because it's land, it's a domain name, it's a domain that people were ambitious enough to build buildings on. Like they built just taller and taller buildings, skyscrapers all over the place. You can't come here and not be ambitious. You can either be beat down by the fact that so many people have done so many great things with their life, or you can just look at it and go, I want to build something also, which that is me. I hope if you ever make it to New York City, you as well are excited and it can create some ambition for you. So yeah, and we are back to the expired domain names here, and we are going to run down through the next 200 domain names. I am going to adjust. Okay, here we go. Telepathically. Is that the way you spell that? See, this is the bad. I wonder if being a poor speller is a positive or a negative when it comes to domain names. Oh, it's okay. Here we go. This is interesting. Telepathically.com. $3 cost per click. Is this a brand? Huh. Let me see what's going on here with this domain, because this is kind of interesting. Well, I will show you one thing. So right now it's $12. Ends in 6 days. And so here's what's going on with this domain, just so you know. This is one of those domains that it shows the volume as high, 90,000 searches, but it is correcting telepathically to telepathic, which has the search volume. So that means we need to go do a search to see if people are actually using telepathically. And what I did, this is exactly what I was talking about with GoDaddy or Google. So I went and searched for the keyword on Google, and what we see is there's no ads up at the top. Which, why is that? Like, obviously, there's typically ads on top because Google's always out to make money. So there's no ads on the top, and you'll see like here's the a free dictionary that's showing telepathically. Realistically, I believe it's not an actual word. It's kind of what it comes down to. It is being. Is it an actual word? So this is a weird word. I would treat this more as probably a brandable, which makes me think. Let's go look at the United States trade. United States Trademark and Patent Office. What the hell? We'll just go here. Okay, so you looked it up. Jason said he looked it up, and it is. What do you mean by it is? It is a it is an actual word? Because this domain, it's going to end up shooting up in price if it is an actual word. And there's no. This is really odd. I'm perplexed by this. There's no trademarks on the word. It seems to be a variation of an actual word. Well, there you go. There you go. It is the adverb form of telepathy. Telepathy. Okay. Well, there you go. So, I don't even know what to necessarily tell you on this domain. I like it. It's because it's a single word. It represents. It's going to be a little hard to spell. It's more of an investable domain name. Uh, so you would probably build something on it that is for the purpose of transferring data, transferring maybe Bluetooth files or some kind of wireless, like something that is plays on the idea of transferring thoughts or telepathy. Um, so you could do something with it. Like I said, it's more of a brandable. Uh, I'm kind of curious as to what the price of that's going to go. It, for the most part, I would say as a domain investor, don't bid on it until like as late as possible, because that is the kind of domain name that very well could go up to a couple $1,000s, but you want it to fly under the radar until as late as possible. Because otherwise, if you bring attention to it, you might end up attracting people with big pockets that want to spend a bunch of money on it. As far as development, though, it would be more of a brandable type domain name, meaning a domain you would build a business on. So there you go. Telepathically.com. Stumbled across that one. That one's a fun one. And as Jason, you should follow him on Twitter as well. He domain investor and all around good guy. Was already looking at it. Computerpatent.com. It's so technical. If you're in those technical type, here's kind of an advice here on this. If you work in a technical field, if your expertise is in I don't know, whatever field you're working in, go out to like snapnames.com and put back orders on all the matching great keywords for your industry. And keep an eye out for domain names that are expiring, the .com domain names for those industries. So let me give you an example of that. When I worked in auto transportation, so one of my earliest business was in auto transportation, basically the companies that move cars long distances. Well, I actually got part of why I'm even in domain investment is because I stumbled across autotransporter.com. I had found a site and I put in there's nothing on that domain. I typed it in, there's nothing there. I'm like, well, what's up with this domain name? So I found Snap Names and did a back order on that domain name, and they kept watching it and alerted me when it was coming up for expired auction. And I think was pretty much one of my first expired domains that I ever purchased. My point with that is I knew that auto transporter was a good keyword, so I took that and many other domain names and entered the back orders on them. And a back order means you are saying that you'll pay for it if it comes available. So in this case, on Snap Names, it's $79. But here's more important than being able to have a back order on it. Snap Names will also let you know when it goes to like pending delete or pending expiration. So in most cases, it's just going to alert you, and then you're going to need to go out here to expireddomains.net and check that as well. I don't know if Expired Domains has an alert feature for you to watch domains. I've not looked into it in that way, but maybe it does, and if so, you can watch it here as well. But the idea is watch the main keywords for your industry. Sometimes they pop up, and they're going to fly under the radar. So while I wouldn't be interested in computerpatent.com, if I'm a patent attorney or something, and I had went out and entered in several different keywords back orders, you might be you might be able to grab some great domain names that are great for your industry, but most people wouldn't even think about them. So hopefully that makes sense. Like, I'm not interested in computer patent, but look at that. It's 1997 is when that was registered. So I mean, it's an old domain. It's going to matter. It just doesn't matter to me. It's just too technical. It's computers, which is technical, and patents, which is ridiculously technical. Not something I care to dip my toe into. I prefer I prefer not to work for a living. Yeah. Topaccounts.com. Possibly do something with that. I don't necessarily know what. Nothing comes to mind. Leadmagnet.com. Leads magnet. Middle S. Okay, so it gives me my opportunity to kind of warn you. Do not The middle S, very seldom, if there's an S on the word in the middle, it's most likely a bad deal. So leads magnet, bad, don't get it. Lead magnet, I was going to be super excited and be like, boom, Drew's putting some money on this domain. So the S kills it because seldom is that first word, seldom does it make sense for the first word to be plural. I can't think of anything in particular right now as an example, but just know generally 80% of the time or more, a plural first word does not make sense. General rule. And if you think you have one where the S makes sense, then check. Check. You can tweet at me. I'll let you know. Yeah. But in most cases, I always say that if English is not your primary language, chances are you've fallen for that on numerous occasions. That idea that middle S, you don't realize the power that a middle S has because no one's going to say leads magnet. It looks good on paper, but it makes no sense whatsoever. Really what you're buying is leads with an S, magnet.com, which is not a good domain name. We buy domains for authority. We buy it for validation. We buy it for the scarcity of it only being the one plot of real estate. And when you have an S like that, you're losing all of that. It's complicated. You're not able to just say your domain and people go, that makes sense. That makes sense. Leads. So it would have, I don't, let me see, but then it would be a lead like a metal. Leads magnet? Maybe something like that. It's just, if it was lead magnet even, is that, but yeah, I'm not a big fan. Anytime that S is there, I put up red flag and make sure that you really want what you're going to be looking at. So I'm going to avoid that one. Adultlovers.com with a little bit of SEO, which if it's in the adult space, you got to watch out a little bit because adult domains have a tendency to go too far for many reasons. But they also could get blacklisted. They can get manual actions in Google. So you just really have to watch out on those. But who knows? Adult lovers could be a match type domain name and things. You have to do a lot of research that I'm probably not going to be talking about here to see if those links and things are legit or if that domain name is tainted. And you don't want to spend money on a domain name that's bad. Trust me, I know. Creamiest.com. Feels a little weird saying that after talking about adultlovers.com, but creamiest.com sounds like what a great word, creamiest. Assuming it's a word. I'm guessing it is an actual word. If it's not, does it really matter? It sounds like a fun word. It sounds like if you work in food, cakes. There's really nothing happening. Creamy. Oh my gosh, there we go. Yeah, it's very. Yeah, that's where I was going. Okay, so we're very adult with this. This is not. That's the reason why I do not mark this as a for-kid type show. Let's see what this has. This domain may be damaged goods, but it could be a fun food domain. So, and let me go back to leads magnet. Matt is mentioning that it has two meanings. He's asking if because lead and lead have two different meanings or whatever, he's asking if it would hurt the domain. I would say no. It might mess up your keyword data a little bit, but I will say as a marketer, you would probably be interested in that domain name because there is something called a lead magnet. So a lead magnet is when you give away free content, like a PDF, a free book, free to-do list, checklist, anything like that, for the purpose of getting somebody to enter their contact information. So it's a lead magnet. It's the idea of like getting contact information for the sake of a free template or something. So I don't know if it will actually work. Does this work? Probably not. But for example, this page here, which my camera is not set up, this could be considered a lead magnet. Basically, it's the Domain to Profit 3-minute business plan, which is a PDF you can get. Sorry, the camera's not working there. No big deal. But you can go to that URL. You can download the 3-minute business plan. And that 3-minute business plan would be kind of considered a lead magnet. So the idea that you are entering your email address for me to send you a PDF that we created to help you in some way. And if I was selling you something or something like that, it might be, it's a way to get your contact information. So now you are my lead. So hopefully that makes sense. That would be the primary purpose of that domain name. Unless you're a Superman, then you might be looking for lead. Or if you're into pencils. Okay, well, we are running out of time. I'm just going to give a quick rundown through these just to make sure I'm not missing something. I'm sure I am, because realistically, there's always thousands of domain names coming available each week. These domain names are just, I say they are like rocket ships out on the launch pad. They're fueled up. They're like, the destination is known, which is success. And now it's just a matter of who's going to be the crew, who's going to be the person that buys these domains. That's going to be the question. That's the beauty of expired domain names. In some cases, you can get them for so cheap and build something on them. And next thing you know, you're making $1,000, $2,000 a month. So such good stuff can happen, all based on a domain name. So time is running out. I thank you so much for joining me here as I'm in New York City. I'll be here this entire week working from a WeWork down it's a shared office space down the street. And I come here inspired, ambitious, ready to figure out how I can take my business, my domain names, develop them into enterprises that really can impact and change the world in some way, hopefully as much as a skyscraper out here, a building has impacted the skyline here in New York City. I love this town, and I very much appreciate you. Thank you for joining me. I'm Drew Walsh. This is Domain to Profit. If you haven't already, please subscribe, please like, share this video, and I will see you next week as we do Domain to Profit, week 40. See you then.